The first public screening of the documentary was held in Texas at the Institute of Interfaith Dialogue. The documentary features 5 different stories that show how interfaith dialogue between Baptists and Muslims can be put into practice. Dr. Robert Parham, the executive director of ethicsdaily.com and the co-producer of the documentary, talked about an open letter to Christians written in 2007 and signed by Muslim scholars as being the motivation for the documentary.
Our documentary is titled Different Books, Common Word, Baptist and Muslims. The purpose of the documentary is to advance the common good between Baptist and Muslims. We have introduced a new narrative into the American culture, and that narrative is that Baptists and Muslims are engaged in conversation and projects to advance the common good. We think that narrative will replace the negative narrative in our culture about the relationship between Muslims and Christians.
The screening turned out to be a great success with positive feedbacks by the distinguished guests in attendance. Among those in the audience was Dr. Bruce Prescott, the executive director of the Mainstream Baptists in Oklahoma. He talked of his many Muslim friendships, including one with Fethullah Gulen, the Turkish preacher, author, and educator living in Pennsylvania, who advocates religious tolerance and peaceful coexistence.
I find that Fethullah Gulen is the voice within Muslim circles who speaks to me the most, because I find the most similarities in many ways between his faith and mine in terms of the spirituality, the openness to other people of different convictions, the desire for dialogue in civilizations, a desire to try to find some ways to find common ground. Those are the kinds of things that in my own faith I think are the very best of my faith that it has to offer to the world. And I find those in the Muslim faith in Fethullah Gulen. And I think that the schools that he has formed around the world are a real important component and part of the message that we need to say. If we can find ways that we can educate people not to be afraid of one another, to respect our differences, I think we can find a way we can live together. And he does that better than anybody that I know.
The screening of the documentary was followed by a panel discussion on how interfaith dialogue can be pursued for the sake of humanity.
Non-believers and others. So from the very beginning of Baptist in 1611, we have had a relationship with the Muslim community.